Mob grazing is a practice that has emerged on America's grazing lands over the last 10 years. It's a form of rotational grazing that often includes increased stocking densities and longer rest periods. But as an applied grazing strategy, mob grazing is used in as many forms as there are farmers who use it, and its definition is a moving target at best. So what is mob grazing, and who are these mob grazers? A growing number of farmers are creatively adapting this practice to their own operations, defining and expanding the term year by year. Their stories give us insight and instruction. Here, we'll share their experiences told in their own words. Through 4 separate videos, we'll first introduce and define the practice, then describe the benefits and drawbacks, and finally we'll get some advice about how to implement mob grazing. But let's learn more about this grazing tool first.
150 to 200 years ago, there were 30 million bison that roamed the U.S. coast to coast, north to south.
It's probably how the buffalo grazed, a style of mob grazing, right? They ran in herds, they went through wherever they went through, and then they didn't come back for a year or 2 years or 3 years. I don't know what they did, but it's it kind of makes sense that that's the way grazing was with wild animals. Now we got to kind of simulate that here.
Look at the prairies, which is now the corn belt. That, you know, that soil didn't just happen. You know, that something made that happen, and we know there were tens of millions of bison coming across this country for thousands of years. You know, a long, long time. And while they may not have been at the density that we are running our beef herds, so we may have made a modification on the human realm, how we manage our beef herds. I think the bison herds were just so gigantic that while they may not have been shoulder to shoulder, they may have been 2 miles deep. So by the time they finally all got through, everything still got trampled. The next phase, you know, once some people start implementing any form of that and seeing some results and sharing that, it starts to go. And those that have that eye to see, or that ability to comprehend some new nugget or some far out thought, start toying with it. And next thing you know, it's where we are today. My definition would be,
So if I had to twist your arm and say, what is the definition of mob grazing?
Mob grazing has a different definition from county to county.
Using a number 100 to 200,000 pounds per acre of pressure, of cattle weight, and frequent moves.
letting it get, you know, extremely tall, which would be, you know, preferably waist high, maybe more, and we're going to be leaving behind at least a third to maybe even half.
First step towards mob grazing is to get all those animals in one herd and lengthen out your rest periods, and I think that's the most critical thing, and then density can follow from there.
We're trying to get some trampling, because we actually want some of that those cattle to knock down some of that grass, put it in contact with the soil, because that's going to feed the biology, and so we're trying to go for 25–30% trample.
Now that we know what mob grazing is, in the next video, we'll move beyond definitions and hear what benefits these farmers have seen on their operations as they've experimented with mob grazing.